So, good evening, all. Today's topic is Swami Dayananda Saraswati, and we know Swami Dayananda Saraswati is famous for his Arya Samaj. Today, in this class, we will see what all he has brought the social reforms and his political thought and his social thought and the objectives of Arya Samaj and what he has done for the revival of Vedas. So now we look into the introduction here. As we know, Swami Dayananda Saraswati is an Indian philosopher. He is also a founder of Arya Samaj. So he had formed a reform movement for the Vedic Dharma here. And he was the first person who has given a call for Swaraj. Swaraj is your self rule. As Indians for Indians, he wanted to make Indians stand up for Indians, a self rule in the year 1876. So, along with Swami Vivekananda, Swami Ram Tirtha, he has gave a new outlook for the Indian political thought as the way they have studied, they have brought the reforms, the modern reforms. So, they have brought up a very new outlook for the Indian political thought we observe here. So, they wanted to make the true interpretation as the laws, as the religious laws that were misinterpreted by the falsehood, and they wanted to bring the interpretation of religious laws here. And they wanted to have what the true laws are, true religious laws are, and its true spirit there. So they wanted to tell what is particular, it is inscripted on the religious scriptures there. Particular, what is the particularity, what is main Vedas are telling, instead of the people, other people who are like making it falsehood. So they wanted to give the true picture there. And yeah, their political ideas have been influenced by the time they were living at that time and the situation that happened, those religious modes that have affected them and the conditions, whatever the conditions that were prevalent in that time. So, seeing such, they made it encounter in a possible way that they can make it as possible and make it best in their own sense here. We see now the life sketch of Swami Dayananda Saraswati. So Swami Dayananda Saraswati has born in the year 1824 on 12th February at Tankara in Kathiawar province of Gujarat. So his original name is Mool Shankar here. So he has fled his home to escape the bondage. He do not wanted to get married. So he has escaped from his home at the age of 20, and in the year and from the year 1845 to 1860, he has wandered over many places in search of to know the knowledge, to be aware of immorality and to have that light. So he began his studies of Panini and Patanjali in the year 1860, where after that he studied there under Swami Virajananda Saraswati at Mathura. He has studied there for 2.5 years. And after that, in the year 1864, he started his preachings. And on after that, on the year 1875, on April 10th, he has established the Arya Samaj here. So after that, after establishing 1875, on the in the year 1875, the Arya Samaj, and they have constituted the constitution of Arya Samaj on in the year 1877 at Lahore. Okay, so he being a social reformer, he has boldly criticized the social evils, the practices of both the social and the religious. So he wanted to eradicate the orthodox society that has been there in the overall India. So what happened? Seeing his things that he is fighting for the society to bring up a revolution, to bring up a change. People want digest if something is happening better for the society, if somebody is doing good. So the mainly the orthodox people, so for them, whatever Dayananda Saraswati was doing, it was opposed for their feelings. So they did not digest. So what happened? Uh, People has whoever the opponents were there of Saraswati, Dayananda Saraswati, they tried poisoning Dayananda Saraswati for 3 times. By the third time, when he got poisoned, his life has come to an end. So on October 30, 1883, he could not resist the poison and he has died in the year 1883. But feeling such, but he has left a great mission to be followed by the Arya Samaj followers there. So he said that the world is fettered by change, forged by superstition and ignorance. I have come to snap asunder that chain and to set slaves at liberty. So by this he's meaning to say that the superstition belief and the ignorance has been scattered among whole of the world here, whole of the world. It is scattered in such a way, it has been molded in such a way like a chain. So as chain gets attached to something, so the same thing, superstitions and ignorance has been attached, has been established in a such a way like a chain. So he meant to say that he want to break that chain, he want to make that part, that chain, and he wanted to set that slaves whoever were there under the ignorance, whoever there were under the superstitions, he wanted that slaves, the people who have been treated, the people who have been downtrodden, he wanted to set them free, he wanted to set them at liberty there. So now if we see the philosophy of Dayananda Saraswati, so he was mainly influenced by the Vedas, Upanishads, and the Manusmriti. And also he was influenced by his guru Swami Virajananda. He was such a great disciple and he was such a great follower of his guru. And he said that about the Hindu religious books, those books were the original teachings of the God. So he meant to say that it was only through the study of Veda one can get the solution of everything like socio-economic and every problems or the political problems, the social problems, the economic problems that are prevailing in the society. Only if a true study, if a proper sense of study, if it's there in the true sense of learning the Veda, then only they can find solutions with that Veda he's meant to say. So he has also influenced by the Manusmriti, which was written by Manu there. But what he says, Vedas and Manusmriti and also his guru, these had a very great impact on his philosophy. So under them, he has sat so many years there, and where he developed his philosophy, where he developed everything, where he has learned a sense of devotion. So that is done without, so which one should take such in a way. There should be an hardship, there should be an opinion, and yes, as difficulties come in a way, when we want to do something, we have to fight for this difficulties, is what he said. So now we see the writings of Swami Vivekananda. So mostly his philosophies, as he was greatly influenced by the Upanishads and Manusmriti and the Vedas, so basically his philosophy contained a lot of Vedas, Upanishads, and Manusmriti. So where he wanted with that preaching, with that teaching, he wanted to tell the original teachings of the God here. But as he was poisoned in a very short time, but he could not accomplish his task there. So what happened in the year 1875? He has wrote Satyaprakash, which is a very important one, and it is a very sacred one by the Arya Samajas. And one more is Vedanga Prakashika, which is a book of 16, set of 16 books, and where he also wrote Sanskara Vidhi, Ved Vyasa, Rig Veda, and all. So now we try to understand that whatever he has written, there is an influence of Veda, Manusmriti, and the Upanishads there. So while we understand what made Dayananda Saraswati take such a step, what are the influences, what made him do, so the contemporary conditions. So at that time, when the times Dayananda Saraswati was there, so at that time, the Indian society has lost everything in the sense of socio-economic and every aspects. It was losing its dignity there. It was degenerating itself. So in that time, the country was totally backward. It was backward as in sense like politically, economically, and also socially. And the time that Dayananda Saraswati prevailed, at that time there was like Britishers who were ruling, and there was a great influence of Christian missionaries. So that has increased so much, and there were like lot of conversion that happened within the society from Hinduism to many other religions. Basically, the society was being so much demoralized. We don't know what is happening with the society at that time. So, in the political field, where the Congress, the people of Congress, the liberals that were there in the Congress, so they had a full control on this organizations that were running in the state at that time. So, whoever the patriots were there at that time, they wanted the British to stay for a long time because they wanted it for the India's development. As the Britishers were like taking the they were like draining, but they have brought a lot to the Indian society. As the patriots thought, we need some time, and we need some kind of aspect that there will be a little help. And as Britishers are bringing many things, they wanted Britishers to stay a little so that it can influence or enhance the development of India. So, when Britishers are there at that time, what happened? The state was only confined to collect only the taxes and the revenues without caring the welfare of the people at that time. They only wanted taxes and the revenues there. And there was no obligation to provide employment to the people who are coming to arrange. Everybody was free to have, basically, everybody was free to have their employment, and they can attend their higher education in that time. But the British government then prevailed. It adopted a less or the more of the laissez-faire, the free market, the liberty that it wanted, both in the fields of religious and the socials. When we see in the economic field, as Britishers came for trade in the India, so the trade policy, the commercial policy, it has squeezed the blood of Indians. That was that harsh at that time, and that was so much burdensome policies that could not be that could not be helpful for the Indians there. Whereas the Indians' blood was only squeezing where the profit was not that. Whereas the Britishers did not care much. What happened because of such policies? We tend to observe India as poverty prevailed at that time. So, the society was also at that time was superstition ridden. Everybody had a very bad superstitious beliefs. If we do this, this will happen. If she's coming, this will happen. If cat is coming, a lot of superstitious beliefs were prevailed at that time. So, the religion it became as a hoax there. It was just to trick the people at that time, and we tend to see this. the many educated masses at that time, they were very much closer for the Western education and also for the Western civilization. They were so much impressed with the Western culture there. They wanted to propagate such, and they wanted to introduce a little there in our India. So these were thus the Indian educated masses being closer. So the Indian system, the way they are not bringing out the actual patriots there. So when we see, he wanted seeing such conditions that were prevailing there at that time. So Dayananda Saraswati wanted to reorganize the whole system that is going in a wrong way, that has been already demoralized, that has been um, not the organization that's been scattered, that's been confused, that's been that's been suppressed. He wanted to bring up and or reorganize that whole system so that it could have it could come out of its boredom. So in the year, because of that, seeing such as to take a part in the society, to do something for the society, to bring out, to reorganize, in the year 1875, he has found up the Arya Samaj. So now we understand what are his social thoughts are about. So when Dayananda Saraswati has born, at the time, the Hindu society it was suffering from many social evils. It was having a social evil practices, many practices that has degenerated the complete society that has been prevailing at that time. And in the name, the proper religion, the religion that was meant to be, that was being interpreted that has been very wrongly interpreted. So people had a lot of sufferings from the evil practices that was like caste system, child marriages, dowry, untouchability, widow, ban on the widow marriages, and there were like many acts that were prevailing in the society that has challenged the society at that time. So when the British came after the British has come up, now they were like Christian missionaries. So these missionaries, they were spreading their religion across the Hindu society. And because of such evil practices, because of such caste system, because of such social evils that prevailed, they were tracing out the drawbacks of Hindu society. And because of such, there was Christian missionaries that were spreading widely. So here, what happened? The downtrodden, the depressed. So these had condemned, they ignored, they just stood up as they said they condemned the Hindu society. And because of such caste system, because of such suppression that was happening on the name of religion, they condemned the society, the Hindu society, and they were embracing the Christianity there. And that time, the condition of the woman was also shocking. So there was, they had the woman basically had a very lower status when compared to the man in that society. As Dayananda Saraswati was an advocate of Vedic Varnashrama Dharma, Varnashrama Dharma, which was associated with the caste system that has been practiced in India. And here he advocated, Dayananda Saraswati said that if one varna, it should be determined based on someone's psychological qualities, the way they are, the qualities, the actions, their dispositions. So if we see, he wanted to have such varna system on the conditions of the psychological the quality of a person, the action that he is behaving. But the Varna system was like given at the time of birth itself, no matter what you are in a profession, what are in your occupation, but your birth itself is defining you, where are you coming from. So when we see um here, so thus Varna, the four Varnas that should be based upon the psychological, the occupational criterion is what Dayananda Saraswati has meant to say that could provide a good solution for many of the social and the functional conflicts, is what he believed. So one should be placed their merit in the place of birth, is what he meant to say. And here, in the thing, what happened, Varna theory. So this is a part of social stratification. Social stratification is nothing but a division in the society. Society like caste, class, creed, tribe. So it is a thing. It is a principle of the social stratification that has been suffused the centuries old traditionalism, the conservatism, the historical traditionalism is what he was doubting of Dayananda Saraswati here. So, according to him, the untouchability there. So, as he has condemned caste system, so he wanted to say that that caste system is nothing but an arrangement that has been brought up by the group of selfish people according to their convenience, according to their comfort. They have built up is what they uh, created the caste system. That's what he has condemned in this way. That caste system um, should be not encouraged, and he believed if that caste system is, if it is based on the psychological considerations and from what occupation is he coming, and if that caste system is based upon his occupation, if it is based upon his psychological conditions, then he propagated no objection there. But it is the individual choice what he want to become in his life, what he want to propagate, the profession that he want, that should not be given by somebody else. It should be within that individual person, is what Dayananda Saraswati meant us to say. It was only the caste system. It should not be given from the birth. It should be given from the profession, is what he meant to say. So he is totally making clear understanding here that an individual's choice, and it is an individual's choice in basically becoming what he want to preach, what he want to choose his profession. It is the right that he what Dayananda Saraswati tells us. And widow remarriages, he wanted to have the widow remarriages. So, as being a social reformer, he was in favor of the widows. So, as there was a ban in the society that widow should not marry, she should not get married, or he should not get married. Sorry, she should not get married. So, seeing such, it was promoting um, moral degeneration there. And as soon as it has been promoting a moral degeneration there, it has becoming, and it is making it a corrupt concept. It is corrupting the minds as such. So he has pleaded for the widow remarriages. Oh, it is the fate that has made a woman to um uh that she has become the widow there. So it is basically what is there for her in the store that has been given. It's not her fault to become a widow there. It's just the fate, he believed. So it was something that he wanted to bring up a change. He wanted to bring that young ladies, young women, to get themselves married and to have their own life as such. So here, in terms of child marriage, he was a complete opponent for the child marriages, because he only himself has escaped from the bondage of marriage there, and he meant to say a child marriage as an evil practice of the Hindu society. So he said that he also opposed the dowry system there, and he was in a view that a boy should get married not before at the age of 25, and a girl should not get married before the age of 16 years. So he has opposed the dowry system, because that dowry system is spoiling the married relations there, the happy married relations. Because of the dowry, a man can torture a woman, or the man's family can torture a woman, basically to bring more and more dowry. So there is no such happy relations there, and such dowry system is being responsible for spoiling the married relations. So he was also in favor of widow remarriages, that we have also seen. So this is the social thought of Swami Dayananda Saraswati. Here, the political thought, if we understand, according to Dayananda Saraswati, he was not actually not a politician at that time, and he did not give much for political, but then he was primarily a social reformer and also a religious reformer there. So, but then also he realized that society had not going in a proper political system, and there is, as such, there is no economic change, and there is no such social change in the society. So without the proper political system, he believed that there could be no uh, social change and the economic change, and that the society, because of that, the society has been continuing to degenerate itself. Means it is having a lack of losing the interest. It's not having anything interest in economic and the social fields, or in the political fields. So he has theory and practice of democracy. Basically, Dayananda was a democrat here. So he has proved his concept of democracy in a two ways. Firstly, by bringing his Arya Samaj, by organizing the structure of Arya Samaj, as he being a founder of Arya Samaj. So he has organized the structure in such a way it was based upon the elections. So from the bottom to the top, there were the functions of, from the office bearers to the board members and to the councils. Everybody was elected there. Where was it was the first scene that was, and it was a very revolutionary step if we see in the Hindu system, Hindu religious system there. As it was a very revolutionary step, we never saw a election system in the Hindu society, because basically the authority was there in the hands of the Brahmin. So it was based upon the traditional sentiments there. And then the secondly, he is trying to prove that the elections, the principle of elections to the various bodies that he has said, that has legal organs of government. So he has said it has a ideal polity. He has structured the functions. He has defined the structure and functions into three bodies. One is Dharmarya Sabha, Vidharya Sabha, and the Rajarva Sabha. So these were meant to have the checks and balances in the society. Sorry, in the organs of the governments. Everybody should carry the concept of checks and balances under the Dharmarya Sabha, Vidharya Sabha, and the Rajarva Sabha, village administration. So he has had a very nice essence of democratic idealism here. He has strongly pleaded for construction of a vast commonwealth within the village. He has treated that village commonwealth as a small units, the units which we get. So earlier, if we see, it was Gandhi and Dayananda, they had regretted that there was a decline in the village polity and also the economy because of the Manusmriti that has born, that has made, and that is making uh, the hierarchy positions of what a man has to do, what are his duties, that has been already made up in the Manusmriti. So they have regretted that, and he has main um, advocated the idea to make villages integrally connected with the works of the administration there. Okay, next is the relationship between politics and the uh, religion. So, according to Dayananda Saraswati, he believed that there is a very close relationship between the religion and the politics. So, all the religious institutions, they have a very close working relationships with the institutional relations, political institutions that we in the today day world also we can tend to observe that. As such, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Ranade, Dadabhai Nauroji, they believed that politics that is devoid of religion was no politics at all. So politics, there is an including of politics, there is an include of religion in the politics. If the politics that does not have religion, that could not produce any results, is what they have believed. Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Ranade, and Dadabhai Nauroji. So, without politics, without the relationship between the politics and the relationship between the religion, they could not produce any results, is what they believe in the society as such. As he being a Dayananda being a very true Vedantist, he is a good preacher of the Vedas, and he followed and he learned and he wanted to bring the proper message of the Vedas, the Manusmriti, the Upanishads. So he wanted to revive such, he wanted to he wanted to make it popular of the Vedas. So he strongly believed that it is nothing a eternal pure one and a very pristine knowledge, that it could be given for the humanity, that it could be given for the humans. So to find out the ancient code of wisdom, it is the Vedic, the Vedas are the ancient code. So those are the wisdom words of God himself, is what he believed. So he wanted to discover the very right clues that has been existing. And he has found the keys of the doors, those doors which one time had been closed. And he wanted to asunder such practices and he wanted to seal those uh, fountains. He wanted to imprison such foundations that was then prevailed. So if we see Dayananda, he did not believe in the literal revival of Vedics in the modern India. And also, his vision was also not confined to the particular geographical, particular country, particular part of a country's geographical horizon. It is not confined to such. So, although he has born in Aryavarta and he has lived there in the Aryan, he wanted to have a, he stood for the emancipation of man. He wanted to free themselves. He wanted to legalize them. He wanted to make set free. He wanted to make them know the emancipation of man. And he did not believe in anybody's bondage there because he did not wanted to have anybody as a slave there. He has been a true follower of the universal humanitarianism. So he has wrote that when we see in his teachings based upon the humanitarian universalism, we find the traces where he has written the primary object of Samaj is to do well to the whole world by bettering the physical, spiritual, and social conditions of the humanity. Where he has made up the Arya Samaj, where the primary object of that Samaj is to make better people, is to better the society. He want to bring up a better product in a physical, in a spiritual, and in a very social way, social conditional way of an human. So these are the principles of Arya Samaj that has been at Lahore that has been revised in the year 1877. So he believe in a religion. I believe in a religion based on universal principles and embracing all that has been accepted as truth by humanity and that will continue to be obeyed in the ages to come. By this he wanted, as he wanted to preach the people the particular truth, what is there in the Upanishads, what is there in the Manusmriti, what is there in the Vedas. He was a true preacher of such religion. He wanted to bring up that universal principles. He wanted to make the humanity accept such truth as the humanity was falsified by the wrong implications that has been set up in the society in the name of religion. As such, there prevail the social evil practices, and we tend to see the Hindu society that was making the depressed more exploitative. So he wanted to bring a universal principles there, and he wanted to continue such as long as it can. And one has to obey to the all ages, to whatever ages that has come up. So that is what I call religion. So according to him, this is what that he called as a religion where there are universal principles and one is accepting the true truth there, truth that should be accepted by the humanity. If this is there, if this is particularly what has written in the Vedas is true, but the wrong interpretation, but the wrong falsification between a mediator, that should not be accepted is what he meant. Then only a religion can be, this is what he wants to call it as a religion, eternal primitive religion that has simple without being an end of the religion. It is above all the human beliefs. That alone which is worthy to be believed by all men and in all ages, I hold as acceptable. Now he says, the religion which is above the human beliefs there, which is making him worthy to say that it should be believed by all the men in no matter in what age you fall, and such religion is what he is accepting there. So what is written should be said in a proper propagation, it should be said in a very proper way. So besides that, there is association, philanthropic association that has been established by Dayananda Saraswati. So they have put up a committee of 323 trustees there, And it also had threefold duties. So what are those threefold duties? Is they have to spread the knowledge of Vedas and the Vedangas. Knowledge consisting the Vedas and the Vedangas there. And those people, they should send missionaries, and they have to establish missions in all parts of the world for the teachings of the Vedic Dharma. As he being a Vedantist, he wanted to make every people follow the right path of Vedic Dharma. He wanted to preach that the truth should be, we should be adhere to the truth. We should not support, we should be denouncing the untruth which is not true. Now the evil practices, most of the evil practices or all the evil practices are not true, for example. So it should not be accepted, that should be renounced. The truth, we have to adhere ourselves to the what is true in the society or in the dharma of a given time, of a one should follow the right path of the teachings of dharma there. And it has to give protection and the true education to the orphans and to the indigenous people who are there uh, as an inhabitants of India there. So he felt as he was a great champion, seeing such, he was a great champion for the universal brotherhood. He wanted to bring up that concept of brotherhood. Everybody are brothers, nobody is equal or unequal there. So, this is how he wanted to bring up the revival of Vedas. So, he was a proper preacher and a prophet who has a dream that the entire world one day would adhere to the teachings of Vedas is what he had dreamed of. We now see the concept of Arya Samaj. As we know, he was the founder of Arya Samaj, and it was founded on 10th April 1875. This is a kind of, in a church we see the Catholics and the Protestants. So it was a kind of Protestants there. So he has denounced, he did not wanted to propagate the worship of idols, and his main aim was to establish the Aryans or the Vedic faith that was there in the Vedic scriptures. And as he wanted to see, as he wanted to say that as the Brahmo Samaj, as the Samaj, it is more appealing to the human mind of Hindus. So we know the human mind of Hindus and that prevailed at that time, the human mindset that was there in that time, the society that was dealt in that time. So that human mind, uh, it does not only wants the religious label, and with such label, it would continue, it would make a tradition, continuity of such culture and tradition which their own ancestors have been following from 1,000 years back, and that has been brought up by their how ancestors here. Now we say we have been following such traditions because our ancestors has followed. That is what our human mind has been labeled of. So now we are, if we are if we are making one ritual, or if we are celebrating something, if we are making something, so what we say, we have been following it from our family ancestors. It's been going on. So here, this is label, the label, it is proclaiming the continuity of the cultural tradition here. Now our ancestors have followed, and so the same way we are also following here. So here, the pride of this ancestral and the tradition. That is the greatest factor of the scheme of nationality here. Now you see the nationality here because we with a pride we are following such culture and such tradition. So that is making up a pride for our nationality here as such. And the belief, and even without knowing or having, that has been recorded in the Vedic scripture. So we don't know whether that is there in the Vedics or that is not there in the books of religion. So, but though we are following it as. So that things to be calculated, that Vedic scriptures has to be calculated to see what are the roots, what are the main things, the roots of such nationality that has been deepened down, that it could make it to have that the thing which is impossible to taken out. We should see whether there are the records available in the Vedic scriptures. What are the roots of such practices? It and we have to see from where this would be impossible to take out, is what he believed. The human mind. We cannot say if somebody is following, he will follow and he will give you an answer that it's we have been following from a long back. But that thing you cannot take out from his mind because he's been following from a long time. So the Arya Samaj believes that God is one and he has been supreme and there is no other gods and goddesses, only God is one. As they have been opposing this idol worship, so they believed in the single God. So, for according to Dayananda Saraswati, these Vedas are like a fountain of knowledge, and it is the duty of the Aryans, the propagators, to read and they spread the teachings of the Vedas, he believed. And whatever the action that they are doing, it should be motivated and guided, whether this is true, whether this is false. It should be said what you are doing is true, what you are doing is false. If there is an evil practice like child marriage, that is very bad, so it should be guided in a very proper way. If there is a dowry system, it should be guided in a proper way. Taking dowry is an shameful act, and and those people should get motivated that they should not take dowry, as it is a practice of social evil. So they wanted the every action of the Aryans to be motivated, and they must guide everybody regarding the proper true, what is true and what is false there. So, as a duty of Arya Samaj, they must look after the physical, social, and the religious welfare of everybody. And that person should be treated in a way that he behaves and what he deserves. Now, if a person has a great education, he must be treated with a good employment opportunity. He must be treated equality with a equality sense. He must be given the opportunities that he deserves to have as being a great educationist, or as being he being completed his studies. So he should get what he deserves, right? And education, they um, and should make that education widespread, and that illiteracy, because of that illiteracy only people are being ignorant, and he wanted to make that illiteracy wiped out completely. And he wanted that one single person, they should not look up for their own development there, but within the collective development, with everybody's development, they should think, is there my own development there? They must think of everybody's development including them. They should not only get satisfied with their own development, I will also develop, I will also think collectively with my following masses there. So here, an individual has been set up free for his personal welfare, and in collectively, he should be bound to see the collective, the overall welfare of the society as such, with the overall welfare that they have been bound up to each other. So here, wanted who Arya Samaj, the philosophy of Arya Samaj and the Dayananda, it wanted to see that these ideals, that these principles should be followed very honestly, should be followed very vigorously by all the Arya Samajas. So, as we know, he wanted to have the revival, the popularity for the knowledge and spread of Sanskrit literature. So, he made Arya Samaj to run the Gurukulas there. And that Gurukulas were made, it was meant to make the young minds, because the young minds only can create uh, the very visionary future. So, he wanted to have that young Indian minds to be get educated in all the fields like Indian culture and also the civilization with a true Vedic spirit he wanted to have. So that young minds should be given a very thought of value, which are having a very nice moral character, and they must be a patriots. So these Gurukulas should be the center of Vedic studies and also for the research that they want to have. So the responsibility of Arya Samaji is to raise a voice against the social evils, and that has to be fought with a boldedness, because Dayananda Saraswati, being such a bold character, he wanted to have their Arya Samajas to be against of their to raise a voice against the social evils. He wanted to make people raise their voice and fight it very boldly. And they have strongly opposed thus Arya Samajas should take a stand, and they should strongly oppose the child marriages, the caste system, and the other social evils or the other evils that have corrupted the Hindu society there. So we do not know from where the child marriages has come up. We do not know from where the proper caste system has been come up, what the caste system has been saying, what the evil practices. So this has corrupted the minds of people. Now one is following, another will also follow. So he wanted to be an opponent for such and to raise voice for such. So he wanted, and also keeping in such as the society, thus the Hindu society has been corrupted. Keeping in the view of such, he wanted uh, to expose the unwanted things, the unwanted doctrines that were the religious unwanted doctrines and the books. He wanted to expose such unwanted things, unwanted religion doctrines, and the unwanted books of religions. So, where such with that unwanted thing only, these Christian missionaries are able to widely spread their missionaries so widely there. So he wanted to make such unwanted critics out, and so that these Christian missionaries could be demoralized there. They could not, when this unwanted things are taken out, when the purity has been put it up there. So such Hindu society may not be corrupt, they may be knowing such, and whereas these Christian missionaries may not be able to spread up their motives, and hence there where they can demoralize the missionaries that they are carrying off. And one such, and they must hesitate from not from condemning and also from criticizing uh, their own religion, teachings and philosophy. Uh, for example, if somebody is coming from one such religion, they should not, they should hesitate. So they should hesitate in a way that they should condemn or criticize when somebody is criticizing or when somebody is saying. But then you have to say it the truth, but you have to make the factual implications there. In such a way, he wanted to bring up the society. And when we see in the constitution of Arya Samaj, as he has introduced the elective system, which was never known in the Hindu society as such in the previous olden days. So he also asked the Arya Samajas to propagate, to preach, to follow the use of the Swadeshi that are built up in our India only, and to have that self government, as he being a good propagator of Swarajya. He wanted to have Indians for Indians. So such a way he wanted the Arya Samajas to propagate for the use of Swadeshi. We do not want foreign goods. We should demand for self-government. So as such, the authority, and there should be an authority also which should be decentralized. The authority should be decentralized. It should be given the hierarchy. It should be divided in a very proper way. And every individual should be placed up accordingly. So these are the concepts of Arya Samaj. Now we see he being a very Dayanand's philosophy, if we see, it is of highly national importance. So for him, the nature, it's not an illusion that what you are thinking, but for him, it is a vision. It is an ultimate goal for him. So here, the plan, the Dayanand's plan and the program is to make the political is to the program of the social reform, the rehabilitation, that he wanted to make the national political progress in the modern India there. He wanted everybody to have the equal rights, and everybody, and they have to participate in the Vedic studies, as he being a Vedanta and he being a very good propagator of Vedic. So he wanted to have such people to participate in the Vedic studies. He wanted to. So here he wanted to infuse a new faith here with a sense of moral. One should have that morality, and there should be given the social responsibility, and one should have that self confidence to speak up or to stand up for such is the bad happenings, and it is our responsibility to take up a stand against such practices that are happening against the odds. So here we see Dayananda Saraswati, he is a indirectly propagator of independent political life. As such, he's being a great Democrat. He wanted to have the values of character building. One should have their character, the moral education, which is important, and the purity. There must be a purity, there must be a true essence there. That's what he has made the glories of Vedic Swarajya. He wanted the country's freedom. So, as such, we see he being conceived, and he has signified the regime of peace. He wanted to have peace, prosperity, freedom, and everything. So, as he being a Democrat there, he has made um, what's a practice? He has made the democratic theory and its practice in a three ways. Like a social thinker, he should be substituted with the Janma, his birth, where he is standing with its merit. Merit in the sense, what are his characters, with its doings, what he is doing, his guna, his karma, and his swabhava, what he is behaving, how is he behaving. What is he doing? How is he of? And what is the attitude? Secondly, he is establishing an organization structure on the principles of democracy. He is establishing the democratic principles where he has introduced the elective system there, where people has to elect their representatives. And thirdly, he is wanting to have that ideal polity if there is a democracy of election there. So if we see, he not being a that of the political theorist in the proper sense, but he has found a little consideration, a little contribution for the Indian political philosophy, as he being greatly telling about the theory of democracy. So he being a very revolutionary social reformer, he wanted to revive the Vedic revivalism, and he, as the Arya Samaj founder, he wanted to bring up a various numerous political movements where the leaders has to follow the main objectives and the uh, principles of the Arya Samaj, and they have to propagate, they have to preach up in a very truly way, and they have to make it honestly, and they have to spread up the truth, the pure essence as such. So, rightly, we can say that Dayananda Saraswati, in the conclusion, he has placed up with a very high, important place in the history of Indian philosophy and the culture, the political philosophy, and also in the culture there. So, thank you.